Get him out of here!
What is up, guys? I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is July 21st, 2025. We are live streaming, as always, on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. I want to give you a quick update because we are pretty damn close. You guys know that we are pushing, I should say, for the 3 million YouTube subscriber. By the time I go off the grid on August 1st, we are less than 18,000 away. Can you click the button, swipe, whatever you got to do? And we're at 644 on Rumble. I'd like to get that to 700. Do what you got to do, people. Don't let us down. And speaking of not letting us down, the power here in southern Miami is a little spotty this morning. I heard some crazy at about 9 a.m. I was walking the dog. I heard some crazy like electronic boom and explosion and then crackle. And then we lost power at the house. But we are powered up right now. We're using the gas generator and the Starlink. We were able to get Elon to move the satellites. And we're going. So we'll see if we can do a live stream off Starlink and the gas generator for the first time. We will try not to overload the system. And we got a great show for you on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend because we're just going to dive right into it. The big thing that happened over the weekend is that Stephen Colbert, a man who, as I've been saying for years, just gives the machine whatever it wants. Well, apparently the machine doesn't want Stephen Colbert anymore, and his late night program, I don't even want to call it the Late Show, that was David Letterman's, but his late night catastrophe, it's got a year left. They're going to cancel it, and it was losing a cool $40 million a year. I only lose $30 million a year on this program, but $40 million a year, that seemed like a bit much. And we're going to connect that to what is changing culturally, what you're seeing sort of on television right now, how that's changing. Donald Trump may be pushing for the return of the Washington Redskins. What are they called now? The Washington Losers or something? The Commanders, whatever, okay. And then we'll catch up on the 6-month mark of the Trump presidency because there are just so many wins to talk about. And I know that there's a certain set of people that just want to keep you depressed and angry and paranoid and fearful all the time. But that is not what we are going to do around here. Take a look. Bloomberg News, Stephen Colbert's Late Show to end in May as CBS cites finances. It should be noted that, as I just said, David Letterman, had the original Late Show. For those of you that are late night nerds, which I would consider myself, if you have not seen the movie or read the book, The Late Shift, it was an HBO movie about 25 years ago, but it's about that period of time. This has got to be around 1990-ish, 91-ish, when Johnny Carson was retiring from The Tonight Show after, a 30-plus year run of just absolute magic. I remember watching the last Johnny Carson Tonight Show live. I stayed up late. I was still in high school, and I never stayed up that late. I was usually in bed at like 10 o'clock, but I stayed up late to watch it. But when he was stepping aside, there was a big fight at NBC. What were they going to do? Was it going to be Leno or was it going to be Letterman? Leno was Carson's main guest host. Letterman had the show that was after Leno, Carson's Tonight Show, and there was this big fight about it. Anyway, it's a great movie, but I mention all that because if you think of Johnny Carson, completely apolitical, right? If you think of Jay Leno, completely apolitical, and if you think of David Letterman, completely apolitical, so you went to them whether you liked their humor or not, whether you thought they were funny or not. And that, I think, is what has been lost over these last 20 years. Colbert and Kimmel and some of these other guys Jon Stewart ushered in hyper-political, quote-unquote comedy, and people just don't want it anymore. So why did he get fired? Well, we've got this from the New York Post. CBS brass say they pulled the plug on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert because of its punishing losses, pegged between 40 million and 50 million a year, and claim politics had nothing to do with it, the Post has learned. Okay, now, maybe politics had something to do with it in that he made the show political. So night after night, when he ran with Trump derangement syndrome and his pro-vax nonsense and putting on Adam Schiff and all of the losers from MSNBC, that made it political, which then caused a whole bunch of people to tune out, which then caused the ratings to drop, less advertiser money to come in. You see the point here, right? So I don't think that they were finally like, boy, Donald Trump's in office and we better get rid of Stephen Colbert because the government is going to come for us here at CBS. That's just paranoid psychotic lunacy. The show sucked, right? Like, it just sucked. And he was wrong about all of the major issues. And the idea of the late night show, back in the day before the internet, like, people were laying in bed at about 11 o'clock, and usually on the networks, whether it was ABC, CBS, or NBC, you'd have the news on at 11 o'clock. It was the local news, right? And then you'd roll into, at 11:35, it would be all of the late night shows. And the idea was, nobody really watched them to the end. It was just like, you'd watch the monologue, you watch an interview, and you kind of go to sleep to them. They were not political. They were supposed to just be entertaining and let it be. See what would happen. Long gone are the days of Johnny Carson sitting there with Burt Reynolds and, smoking a cigarette, and then Lucille Ball walks on and it was real. It became this overly hyper scripted garbage, basically. Anywho, Colbert losing $40 million a year. That is unbelievable. He's got a staff about 200 people. He probably has 20 writers on that staff for that crap. $100 million a year budget. That's about 100 times the budget of what I do here. And we have basically better viewership than they do. But that aside, anyone that's losing, I mean, it's business. People, they have accountants that work over at CBS, and they have paper, and they have numbers, and they carry the one. And they look at it and they're like, boy, that thing is losing $40 million a year. We can only run that for so long. Anyway, here is Stephen Colbert announcing the end of the Stephen Colbert program.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on 7 Bridges Road. What a voice, I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings. And I am extraordinarily, deeply grateful to the 200 people who work here. We get to do this show.
The 200 people who weren't particularly good at their jobs, although the lighting is pretty good. I'll give it up to the lighting guy, and I guess the sound guy. The gaffer was doing just fine, right? But like, anyone that had anything to do with the creative drive of the show, which of course is what brings in ratings, like, you guys weren't great. But I don't blame any of you people. You're just cogs in the machine. What I blame is that guy. I blame that guy for putting on a shitty program. And how do you know it's shitty? Because at the top right there, who was his guest on the very show while he's announcing that his show is done? It was Adam Schiff. How about something entertaining at night? Could you try that? Here's a little picture compilation of some of his previous guests. And yes, these are all MSNBC hosts. And Phoenix's favorite one that we wanted to zoom in on was the Muppet Chris Hayes, who has no bones in his body, that little Muppet right there. You can, if you look close enough, if you can zoom in, if you have an HD camera, you can actually see the hand up his butt because he is a Muppet. Here is a series of videos of Colbert being a general leftist hack, who, by the way, lost $40 million a year for a giant corporation.
You know that the people who want to make hay in Washington are going to try to use your adult son as a cudgel against you. How do you feel about that?
He is the smartest man I know. I mean, in terms of pure intellectual capacity.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. Everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Okay, now I know you want to convince people to go get this shot, right?
Right.
That it's a cool thing to do.
Right.
Okay, what could be more compelling than getting the shot with a pair of sexy kitten ears on?
We have a trust deficit.
Well, I don't know why they canceled him. That is what I call comedy. I mean, holy cow, you got to resurrect some old legendary comic, and where's Alan King when you need him? I mean, if you just go through those 5 things that are in that little compilation, You have him running cover for Hunter Biden while talking to Biden, who was clearly, if you look at Biden's face at that opening there, he had no idea where he was. Then, of course, as always, just the game with Kamala, instead of asking her anything substantive. It's always them. They're coming after you, Kamala. Dancing with Chuck Schumer, which, oh my God, that should be an advertisement for Blue Chew right there. Like, if you are like this, you need this. Then Fauci in the candy aisle, of course, with his little cat ears, and then the vaccine dance, which was to me the most debasing thing that a corporate comic has ever done. And the job is basically to debase yourself. That was the big one. I want to throw back, if I may, for just a second. I guess I'm taking a little victory lap here. About 2.5 years ago, when I, Dave Rubin, went on Bill Maher, who is a late night host that says edgy things, and that is funny, whether you agree with him or not, often goes against his audience, sometimes scolds his audience, sometimes get booed by his audience because it's real. You may remember this when I went on this was on Club Random, actually not on Real Time, talking to Bill Maher about Stephen Colbert, and I guess I turned out to be right. Isn't that crazy that you're right, that all the comics that were supposed to put everybody to bed or whatever it is, they all went bananas left. I mean, Colbert, these guys are terrible. Like, Kimmel to me is just maybe friends with him. I know a lot of people
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, like he's
Colbert and I are not friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody.
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
Colbert?
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's also very successful.
No, but he's just giving the machine what it wants all the time. For my differences with you, I totally respect you.
Is well said.
Yeah.
Giving the machine what it wants. I wish I had thought of that phraseology. That's exactly right.
And I've heard Bill use that since the weed kicked in. He had total recall right there. But you see the point that someone like Colbert, when I always talk about these guys being interchangeable parts, I don't know what's in Colbert's heart. And do I think he's like some absolutely evil person? I don't know. I guess you could judge him for some of the vaccine stuff specifically. And that, yes, he did launder the lies about Hunter Biden's laptop and all of those things. But I don't know the man himself. So putting aside like a little bit of the personal part of that, to give the machine what it wants. You were given a job as a corporate comic on a massive, ridiculously massive platform with a show with $100 million budget. Do you know what we could do with $100 million? Do you think I'd be wearing the same 4 jackets all the time? Okay, I wouldn't be. Everyone in here would have new underwear every week. $100 million, especially, you know who over there. So you're given $100 million. You lose $40 million a year, but why were you given the job? It's why I always say the thing about, I'm not that interested in what the ladies of The View say anymore. I'm not that interested in what the crazy people on MSNBC say anymore. I'm interested in the corporate layer of it. I'm interested in the people that are running the show saying, okay, we'll give you this to do this. Like, whether Colbert knows it or not, he was just giving the machine what it wants. Oh, there's a guy who will literally dance to convince people to get a vaccine that doesn't work. We'll give him plenty of money to do it, right? And there's a guy, Brian Stelter, who will say whatever we want, and then people will wake up and his ratings will be horrible, so we'll fire him. And then he'll disappear here and we'll bring him back because not everyone will give the machine what it wants. And there's the inherent problem. That's why going independent really is the only thing that you can do if you're going to be a truly honest player in the space. Anyway, we will get to some of the Democrat reaction because without Colbert, they're exposed, people exposed. But first, Risana Health. Life today is stressful, distracting, and exhausting. If you've been feeling anxious, foggy, or burned out, you're not alone. You're not broken. Your nervous system is just overloaded. That's why I use and love the Vibe from Risana Health. This isn't a wellness fad. It's a pocket-sized PEMF device designed by a rocket scientist that helps your body reset naturally. No wires, no meds, no subscriptions, just gentle pulses that help calm your nervous system like tuning a guitar back into harmony. PMF has been trusted for years by athletes and doctors, and now the Vibe makes this technology available to anyone dealing with stress, sleep issues, focus struggles, or chronic pain. With nearly 60 built-in settings, it supports your body's natural balance without adding another pill to your routine. And right now, my listeners can save $100. Just go to unplugthepanic.com. That's unplugthepanic.com. Feel the shift, carry the calm, $100 off for a limited time. All right, so you guys know that, look, we can always do what's happening politically, and this person won this, and that vote went this way, and they passed this thing, and okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm always interested in sort of the meta-narratives around everything, right? And what we've seen in the last decade is as the mainstream media has collapsed, we've seen the rise of the alt media, and that's been great. Now I think there's some issues with the rise of the alt media because now to some extent, we never know what is real, and there's a lot of bad actors and all that stuff. But putting that aside, for a second, what is good that we are seeing right now is that things are becoming less centralized, right? In the old days, you had to go to ABC, NBC, CBS for their nightly news, and it was just whether you liked Tom Brokaw or you liked the Dan Rather or whoever, and then you could turn on the TV at night and you had Leno versus Letterman, and even though, as I said, they were largely apolitical and Letterman was maybe more sarcastic and Leno was a little sillier, it was basically, the monologues were basically covering the same things. Now we've completely widened the Overton window and everyone has the internet and you can figure out who you want to listen to and all of those things. But as that happens, the people who had control over everything are starting to freak out. So they're losing. To them, what's happening right now is they don't care about Colbert. Colbert was just giving the machine what it wants. What they care about is that their machine is losing power. And another piece of the machine that is losing power is NPR. So here is the former CEO of NPR, and she is very upset about Colbert because he's unafraid to speak truth to power. Because when a giant corporation gives you $100 million to play with, you're pretty much going to speak truth.
Yeah, well, look, this has not been a great week for free speech and speaking truth to power, without a doubt. Look, the circumstantial evidence, and that's all we have, is as follows. CBS has said that they are canceling Stephen Colbert after next season for financial reasons. At the same time, we also know, as you said in the intro, that it is the #1 show in its time slot. And we also know that the new parent company for CBS, or they hope to be the new parent company, has spent money on other things. So it's very curious, and we have to also make note that Stephen Colbert is unafraid to, again, speak truth to power.
Okay. First, the truth to power thing is so nonsensical, it's barely worth addressing, but you get the point. He put on all of do I have to show you the picture of those four again? Like, if you want people that are not speaking truth to power, like if you want people that are the machine, you would put on MSNBC hosts, you'd put on Muppets, like we showed you earlier, right? That's one part. So truth to power. Yes, he was cashing in his $20 million check every year, being like, I'll fight the system. Completely ridiculous. Then I'm not even sure what parent company she's talking about is going to buy the thing, but she says the parent company wants to spend money in other ways. Well, yes, companies, you're not going to believe this. I read this morning through Grok. Companies go into business for the purpose of business. And one of the things with business is trying to run a profit. So, okay, I'm willing to take the lark on that one. I'll take it. I think that they maybe were trying to make money and losing $40 million a year. Maybe there was some nerdy accountant like, guys, let's get rid of Colbert because we've got to balance the books over here. So blame that guy. The other part that this has something to do with free speech is completely ridiculous. Colbert, might I recommend? I'm a bit of an expert in the category here. Might I recommend you open a free YouTube account or get on Rumble too? There's a lot of scary right-wingers over there. And you could create a show just like this. And actually, you know what we'll do? I'm going to do it perfectly free. I will send you Connor, Joey, and Joseph to your house to help you build your studio for free if you're willing to take the help. We got the best. Connor's not happy about this. I'll get you some extra Chipotle. It's on me. If you will do it, we will help you build a studio out of your house, and I will show you how to build a profitable show. I can't teach you how to be funny. Okay, I can't do that. I think the ship has sailed on that. So I leave the content to you, but we'll show you how to use the wires. There's a surge protector. What else do we have back there? Oh, well, today we're running this thing on a Starlink and literal propane tank outside. We've got all the access to all that stuff. We're going to help you out. So it's not just the NPR lady who's losing her funding. So she's upset about free speech. Completely ridiculous. Just completely absurd. But Brian Stelter, a man that was fired from CNN for sucking, then got a job at Harvard to teach journalism, the very thing he sucked at, and then came back to CNN to suck again. Here he is on the cancellation of the man who does everything for the machine.
I mean, Brian, CBS is saying this is a financial decision. It is certainly, the timing of this is kind of stunning.
Right, from the optics standpoint, the timing could not be worse for CBS. Colbert is such an outspoken Trump critic. He's just back from vacation, and as he showed there on Monday, on his first night back from vacation, he's also a thorn in his parent company's side. So this looks to a lot of Colbert's fans like another form of capitulation by CBS to the President of the United States.
God, you people are such fucking losers. Dude, his show's losing $40 million a year. You just said he's a thorn in the side of the executives. So he doesn't deserve a show. No one deserves a $100 million a year show. If what he is saying, and this has nothing to do with censorship or free speech or anything else, Colbert knows a lot of people. My guess is he's with CAA or WME or one of the big agencies. Of course he is. Like, dude, you have all the access. You've made a shit ton of money over the years. Go do an online show and let's see if anyone tunes in. Think about all the money that was poured into this thing. We have never spent a dime on marketing this show. Literally, I have never spent a dime on buying an ad or anything else. We just do it. And if you like it, great. If you don't want to watch, that's okay too. But they have poured an endless amount of money in propping up this guy. So then he in turn would prop up them. That's what living in service to the machine is. So I would say, Colbert, if you really like doing what you're doing and you think it's valuable, maybe you could get Stelter to throw in $5 a month to create a subscription service for you. That would be pretty great. Here's more from Stelter, and listen to the absurdity. A country where you can't lampoon the president is not a free country. Of course, we're not there, not even close in the US, but there's a bit of chill in the air today. What are you talking about? People attack Donald Trump every single day. It is the number one thing that you losers do, right? That's what your job is, Stelter, to lie about Donald Trump and to impugn Donald Trump and to call Donald Trump supporters racists and white supremacists and everything else. There's no chill in the air. It is not incumbent on any company to fall on the sword and say, oh, we're putting out a shitty product that people aren't watching, that clearly they can't monetize properly because it loses $40 million a year, and that has something to do with free speech, you morons. You know this Lenny guy, the radio guy, they call him Charlamagne. Here he is, and now somehow because of this, Lenny thinks that we're under an authoritarian regime.
Let's call it what it is. Paramount is looking for FCC approval for its Skydance merger. Trump can block that if he wants to. So canceling Colbert is an obvious move to appease Donald Trump. And I need to tell y'all something. If you don't think we are under a regime with an authoritarian strategy, then you are bugging. This is textbook authoritarian rule. Target your critic, centralize power in a few hands, intimidate through punishment or removal. And you know what that usually does? Shuts people the F up. Okay, tightens control over public discourse, sends a message to all media outlets that criticism of Trump could cost you access, approval, editorial control, all your job. This is what authoritarian regimes do. They weaponize legal systems to punish dissent and control messaging.
First off, as long as I'm giving advice to broadcasters, Lenny, you may want to shut the camera on that thing because you're just reading off the screen. So someone wrote you that script to tell you what authoritarianism is. Also, Lenny, the internet exists. If they were jailing Colbert, that would be a problem. If they were somehow making sure that Colbert could not broadcast the way you broadcast or just he could still get another job. All that happened here is a guy who had a job that was not doing very well at his job, which was to make the company money, lost his gig. That's all that happened. And you people, as you guys always do, concoct this completely fantastic fabrication of reality, which is that somehow Trump is coming for Colbert. And yes, I'm sure nobody's going to be able to go after Donald Trump starting today. That's what just happened here. It's scary. Here is Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, who is this man is an absolute lunatic. Here's example 3217B.
So I want to tell you why the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show matters so much. We are on the precipice of entering a censorship state in which Donald Trump is using the powers of the federal government in order to erase criticism from the airwaves.
Well, I suppose in your imaginary world that you live in, that's true, but this had nothing to do with Donald Trump. A network decided that a show that was purging money. Have I illustrated the point already? Do I have to repeat myself? Here's Dave Portnoy explaining what I've been explaining with, I don't know, a little more Portnoy-ish energy.
All right, I got to do a real quick rant on Stephen Colbert being fired on CBS Late Show. Everyone's still talking about it. But before we do that, I want a moment for this backdrop as I film this, all right? Because it's that spectacular. I'll let the color adjust, but a moment for the backdrop, please. That's what I'm talking about. I don't care, Mamdani. I don't care, Bernie. Being rich still is the best thing, and I earned it. Anyways, on to this rant. So I run a media company, obviously, Barstool. So this kind of hit home with me. I'm seeing like Bernie Sanders, Comrade Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, all being like, we need an investigation. This is bribery. This is blackmail. CBS only fired Colbert because he criticizes Trump, and they just settled a $16 million lawsuit. And then Colbert went on the air and said he doesn't trust CBS and blah, 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 blah. Like Trump forced this. And then the stats start coming out. Colbert makes $16 million a year. The Late Show with Colbert loses $40 to $50 million a year. They have a staff of 200 people. Late night ratings are down across the board. He's still got the best ratings of like him, Kimmel, and Fallon, but across the board, they're down. But for these people, including like Colbert, to be like, this isn't really right, that we're blindsided, buddy, you're losing $40 million a year. You have 200 people creating one show. Like, welcome to the real world. Trump's happy. And what did you think was going to happen? Of course they'd fire. I'd fire you in a heartbeat. That's not politics. That's just being ungrateful and see you later.
Yeah, that's right. I'd fire you in an effing heartbeat. That's right. No one that is, at the end of the day, what is the purpose of having any job? Literally any job. It is to provide some sort of value for the place that you work. And then at the end of the year, a functional place looks at the numbers and they go, we pay this person X, is he providing enough of those services that it is worth keeping this person? So whether Donald Trump is happy or not, and by the way, even though Trump is happy, like we're going to read some of his Truth Social posts, but even though he's happy to some extent, like a guy who just lies about him and lies about the vax and everything else is disappearing, you might argue that Trump isn't as happy because Trump likes when there's just general craziness around him, right? He likes some of that kind of stuff. So I don't know that this is long-term great for Trump, but at the end of the day, the network executives, like the guys that are sitting in the boardroom making those decisions, they make business decisions, like the people that are in charge of Viacom, the people that are in charge of Comcast, whatever corporations are out there. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the money. If Colbert right now had the budget of $100 million with his 200 million people and the 16 mil he makes per year, if he was making them $20 million a year, $10 million a year, $5 million a year, he'd probably still have a job right now, but he was losing them $40 million a year. That ain't easy. Let's talk about the wellness company for a minute, and then we'll show you how much the culture has shifted as it relates to comedy. Most people don't realize that pork is one of the top sources of parasites worldwide. The WHO and CDC both list it as a major source of tapeworms and toxoplasmosis. And research shows pork's poor detox pathways make it easy for parasites to thrive and spread. If you eat pork or sushi, travel, have pets, or just want to protect your gut and immune system, it's smart to do with the medical-grade parasite cleanse at least once a year. That's why the wellness company created the ivermectin and mebendazole Parasite Cleanse, a powerful combo that helps flush out parasites and supports your immunity and digestion. Just fill out a quick intake form and get a 4-use medical-grade cleanse delivered to your door. Head on over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $90 and get free shipping. Don't wait. Your gut will thank you.
All
We could spend the next hour crapping all over Colbert, but he'll be doing that all over himself for the next year. He still has another year of this thing. I mean, that's also the hilarious part. Imagine losing $40 million for a company and then still having another year to cash in your 16 mil while you lose another 40. And it'll probably be more than that just because advertisers start pulling as it's a dead duck. Anyway, I want to show you how comedy and culture has shifted. This is super interesting. So look at this tweet from CBS News back in September of 2019. Comedian Shane Gillis will not be joining Saturday Night Live over racist and homophobic videos. So this is like height of cancel culture, absolute lunacy. Shane Gillis, who was a pretty much unknown comic at the time, he got the gig on Saturday Night Live, and I think it was a week later he was canceled. Now, canceled and fired from Saturday Night Live, which was supposed to be about edgy comedy. Here's the bit that got him fired. Again, back in 2019, here's the bit that got him fired from SNL before he had ever even taken the stage.
Damn, Chinatown's nuts.
It's crazy, dude.
It is full China, dude. It's Chinese down there.
I wonder how that started. They just built one up looking building and people were like, all right, no one said anything.
Live there, huh? We got in there and we sat down. And baby girl was like, I'm so excited for neuters. And I was like, yo, chill, chill, chill. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
She said neuters?
Yeah.
Okay, so he made Chinese jokes. He made gay jokes. Joseph, you're Chinese. Are you okay? Are you triggered? Do you need any kind of, can we get him some kind, get one of the kids' plush toys or something that he could hold on to for a little bit? Now I would like to fast forward 5 years. Now we're going to go to February of 2024. Here is Shane Gillis, who then became a more successful comic over the course of 5 years by SNL getting rid of him before he ever took the stage. He ends up hosting Saturday Night Live and making gay, retard, and cracker jokes.
My mom asked me, she's like, when did we stop being best friends? And she's right. We used to be best friends. You remember that when you were a little boy and you loved your mom and you thought she was the cool. You remember when you were gay? You remember when you were just a gay little boy? Every little boy is just their mom's gay best friend. There's literally zero difference. I was gay for my mom. She would pick me up from school. I'd hop in the van. I'd be like, girl, tell me about your day. I thought she was cool. I would listen to her music. I'd be like, bam, bam, ba-dam, bam, bam, bam. Let's go, girls. I would say when my niece is probably in like 5th, 6th grade, out at recess, and some white kids out there like, hey, you're not allowed to play with us. You're retarded. And then 3 black kids come flying out of nowhere, just start wailing on that cracker. Everyone's gonna be like, oh! It's like.
All right, again, pretty funny, but whether you think it's funny or not, you see the culture has shifted, like that you're able to talk about things now. That was 2014, that we couldn't do for years, right? We had this mass chilling effect. And by the way, SNL's ratings are proof of that chilling effect because their ratings are in the dumpster too. Shane Gillis then becomes a major star. And here he is. We played this on Friday, but it's just so great. He hosted the Espys, the ESPN Awards. And this might be the perfect joke.
4-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody. I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players. That's crazy. You clap for that.
Do you realize how great that is? At the Espy Awards, where they're all supposed to care about sports and know about sports and everything else, all he did was take a random black woman and say her name. It is her real name. Pretend she's in the WNBA, and they all applauded. Like, that is absolutely perfect. Here's one more from him hosting the Espys.
When Caitlin Clark retires from the WNBA, she's going to work at a Waffle House so she can continue doing what she loves most, fist-fighting black women.
Yeah, because what's up with comedy? Well, what's the deal with comedy? Well, comedy is when you say something true and then you have a little twist to it that allows people to laugh instead of punching each other, although in the case of the WNBA, that is what they're doing. But the point is, Caitlin Clark, the irony, of course, is Caitlin Clark probably doesn't enjoy fighting all these girls, but they seem to enjoy fighting her. Then to connect this to something else about failing organizations that seem to want to destroy themselves. The WNBA this weekend, look at these pictures. This is wild. They had several players, including Caitlin Clark herself. Now, she's the only one that maybe could justify wearing this shirt. Say, pay us what you owe us. Now, And I tweeted it out and I said, are wooden nickels even in circulation? Now, interestingly, Caitlin Clark has brought ratings. She has brought viewership. She has brought sold jerseys and merchandise and hats and shirts and whatever else the hell they sell, right? Those other girls, nobody's really showing up for them. We checked right before. Do you know how much the WNBA, because God works in mysterious ways, do you know how much the WNBA loses per year? 40 mil, just like Stephen Colbert. $40 million a year, subsidized by the NBA, which is profitable. Then they take their profits into a league that is failing. They get a star, Caitlin Clark. They kick the shit out of her, abuse her. They lose $40 million, and those girls have the audacity to put on a shirt, pay us what you owe us. Well, it would be negative dollars, ladies, except for Caitlin Clark. Just absolutely extraordinary. But okay, what we're showing you here is that things are shifting. So now take a look at this. The other guy who's on late night, who's awful, who's been in blackface many times, lied about Donald Trump, calls us all racist, demanded we all get injected with a strange vaccine and all the rest of it, of course, is Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel had a guest host, though, a guy who I did Gutfeld with once, who's a funny comic, Chris DiStefano. And here he is doing a little bit of the monologue, and his guest was Shane Gillis.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to Jimmy Kimmel Live. I'm your guest host, Chris DiStefano. It's my first time ever doing it. So last night, Shane and I were at, Comedy Store here in LA and, hosting the Espys on Wednesday. You pumped?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I still got a lot of work to do.
All right, so they're having a drink, either funny or not funny. The reason I show you that about the cultural difference is here's Chris DiStefano talking about, this is a little bit before the election, who he was going to vote for.
Who are you going to vote for?
In the November election?
Yeah.
DONALD TRUMP. Donald Trump.
See?
So again, not that you want things went one way politically, everything went to the left comedically, right? Corporate comedy all went to the left. You don't want it all going to the right. But the fact is you do want some course correction, and having that guy host the show is probably a little bit of a course correction, or at least gets us back to something where comedy could be at least mildly offensive again, or a little bit edgy. They're drinking beer, that's very edgy. Like there's something. And I would bet anything that Jimmy Kimmel does not like this guy, except Jimmy Kimmel is exactly what Stephen Colbert is. He just gives the machine what it wants. And in exchange, the machine gives him, how much does Kimmel make per year? My guess is about 20 mil per year. So he's gonna sit back and take it like a bitch. We'll have more in just a moment, but first, Tax Network USA. This month, Tax Network USA is celebrating American Pride Month with 10% off all services honoring freedom, resilience, and financial independence. If you missed the April 15th deadline or you have back taxes, don't wait. The IRS is ramping up enforcement fast. Penalties can hit 5% per month. The good news, Tax Network USA can help. Whether you're self-employed, run a business, or your finances are a mess, their experts know how to get results. Consultations are free, and acting now could save you from wage garnishments or bank levies down the road. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dave to get started. Take advantage of this month's sale for 10% off. Okay, so largely what we're talking about here is the cultural shift and how, contrary to what the NPR CEO, former NPR CEO said, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. This has nothing to do with free speech or anything else. These are decisions being made by people that at the end of the day come down to dollars and cents. It's as simple as that. And you owe nobody your attention or anything else. And nobody just deserves a job. Would everybody in their right mind love to host The Tonight Show and make $16 million for doing it? By the way, we did check the Kimmel numbers. He makes $15 million. To think that they like, how did that negotiation go? You're gonna have to take 1 million less than Colbert. Anyway, what we are seeing is the democratization of media. We don't need the government to fund NPR anymore. We don't need giant corporations to pay $100 million budgets so that corporate comics can tell us to be injected with things. And here is White House spokesperson Karoline Leavitt calling out NPR for being a propaganda network.
These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. The NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group.
All right, so there, as always, you're getting just competence from people that do deserve jobs and the meager government salary that she's working on. But I want to throw to this one specifically, because when people are like, oh my God, if we don't have NPR, what's going to happen? Remember this. I mean, remember that they were a strong piece of perhaps, well, the Biden dementia scandal is the big one, but it's ancillarily connected. Probably the biggest or second biggest political scandal we've had in the last 10 years, which is the Hunter Biden laptop story. And what they wrote in October of 2020 was, why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? Read more in this week's newsletter. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Of course, it turns out that everything in the Hunter Biden laptop was true. Rudy Giuliani was telling the truth the entire time. There were absolute connections between Hunter Biden and the fact that he had a job at Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company, when he had no expertise. Oh, and he was a crackhead, and that it was really about getting access to his dad, who originally was vice president when the whole thing started and then became president of the United States. And they told you right there that they don't want you to care about a non-story, which, as I said, turned out to either be the biggest or perhaps second biggest scandal of the last decade. Did anyone get fired at NPR over that? I don't think so. So if they were even pretending, even in the most thin way possible, to pretend, you would then say, okay, boy, we really did get this thing wrong. We better fire an editor. We better fire the guy who gets us coffee. Somebody's got to go, but they didn't do that. That would have at least offered the people, those of us who fund this thing, a little bit of cover, right? We would have been like, well, you know, they made a mistake, but they did fire some people, but they did not do that. Thus, they got their funding cut. Let's show you two videos right now. First, here's the PBS CEO, and she's in charge of, Kermit the Frog, and who else is over there with Sesame Street, Cookie Monster, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they're doing. You got Big Bird, et cetera. Snuffleupagus died, right? Did I just make that up? We'll check that while we show you this. But a little bit from the PBS CEO and then Amy Klobuchar. She's very concerned that without CBS, you're going to have a hurricane could hit you in the head. You'd have no freaking clue.
Because part of the argument from the administration is that public broadcasting has become politically biased. They describe it as radical woke propaganda disguised as news. How do you respond to that, and that being part of the reasoning for PBS and other public media no longer deserving taxpayer support?
I don't think that Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood is a biased program. It teaches children basic skills around letters and numbers.
All right, first off, a couple things happening in the studio during that clip. I think the Muppets and the Sesame Street characters, they're in the same world together, right? Kermit never showed up on Sesame Street? Is that what you're telling me? One's PBS, one, but I don't think they were always owned by Disney, the Henson Company. I think there's some correlation between Big Bird. I think somewhere, someone could find me a video or a picture of Big Bird and Kermit meeting. I think that's common knowledge. That's number one. What else were we trying to figure out there? There was some other thing happening too. Oh, Snuffleupagus is not dead. I don't know why I said that, and I completely retract that statement. And anyway, here's Amy Klobuchar. Now,
look at what this is for. Just as we've seen these weather disasters, including horrifically in Texas, but the fires in Arizona and the like, in many remote areas, or in states like Florida with hurricane season upon us, they rely on a series of public broadcasting to get alerts out. And when it works well, when you actually have a system set up, it works well. This is not the time to cut back on public radio and public TV.
Lady, have you heard of the internet? I'm on the internet. Are you watching this right now on the internet? You're going to figure it out. We're in South Florida right now. It rains a lot. We get hurricanes. I'm pretty sure I'd figure it out without, I can't even imagine, where would I even get NPR? Let's say there was a hurricane a brewing or a coming. But that's how you say it. If a hurricane's a brewing or a coming, that's the only times you say that. How would I know? Well, first of all, it would be windy. There would be a few days of wind and people would be at the store and you might talk to somebody and they might say, I have the internet. Did you hear that a hurricane's a brewing? No, we have to fund these things to the tilt. It's complete sheer knowledge. By the way, we have confirmed. Do we have the image already? Yes. Kermit the Frog and Big Bird have met because obviously the Muppets, they're all just like Chris Hayes. They're just fabric with a hand up their butt. So obviously they exist in the same world. Let's continue. Here's some more good news. There's other good news. It's not just that Colbert is going, it's that the Washington Redskins might be returning. Check this out from Adam Schiffer, ESPN journalist. President Donald Trump is threatening to hold up a new stadium deal for Washington's NFL team if it does not restore its old name of the Redskins that is considered offensive to Native Americans. It's interesting you say that, Adam Schiffer. You got the first part of it right, but we'll get into whether it's offensive to Native Americans in just a moment. But first, let's hear from Donald Trump himself on Truth. The Washington Whatevers should immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team. There is a big clamoring for this. Likewise, the Cleveland Indians, one of the 6 original baseball teams with a storied past. Our great Indian people in massive numbers want this to happen. Their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Times are different now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. We are a country of passion and common sense. Owners get it done. And you know what, guys, if we're going to bring all that back, the one that I want to bring back, give me the picture of the Land O'Lakes lady, because they took her off the butter. And did you know that if you took the Land O'Lakes tub, the old school Land O'Lakes tub right there, and you cut it, you could actually fold it in a way that her knees would look like her boobs. Has anyone ever seen that before? You could probably get an image. I don't know if we can put that on YouTube, but people used to do that back then. That was before internet porn. That's what you had to do. Anyway, I knew a guy, he had a lot of Land O'Lakes. I was like, what's this guy doing with all this butter? Anyway, no, we all, yeah. So in the old day, is that her now? They took her, they removed her knees altogether because they didn't want people try to find me an old Land O'Lakes one. And if you folded it in a certain way, it would look like her knees were actually her. Can we put this on YouTube? I don't want to blow up the channel right now. Yeah, all right, we're just showing knees. And I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but you can see it. Phoenix got it. If you fold that, you're gonna get, I'd say a nice B cup right there for the Land O'Lakes lady. What are we doing today? Really, there's a lot today. But anyway, everyone knows it was just the height of nonsensical. My high school had to change their name from the Braves. Like, everyone knows it was just bullshit. Nobody thought it was offensive. Indians don't find it offensive. We erased Aunt Jemima. We got rid of Uncle Ben. So we can't have black people on products anymore. Only white people can be on products. It's all so stupid. Here's a bit more from Trump after he saw the reaction to his original post. My statement on the Washington Redskins is totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change their name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. Cleveland should do the same with the Cleveland Indians. The owner of the Cleveland baseball team, Matt Dolan, who is very political, has lost 3 elections in a row because of that ridiculous name change. What he doesn't understand is that if he changed the name back to the Cleveland Indians, he might actually win in an election. Indians are being treated very unfairly. Make Indians great again, MIGA. Now, look, yeah, we could all argue there's so many things going on in the world. Why does Trump care about this? But yes, this is Trump. He puts himself into these things. Should it have anything to do with the president of the United States, what a team's name is? Okay, fine. Like, you can have a debate about that. But look at this from the Washington Post. New poll finds 9 in 10 Native Americans aren't offended by Redskins' name. Like, it's completely absurd. And by the way, I checked this over the weekend. Well, we can back me up now if you want, but you can Google it yourself. The picture of the Washington Redskins, that iconic image of the Indian, it was based off a real person, and his own family wants it reinstated again. So it just goes to show all of this woke bullshit. It burned hot for a while. Congratulations, Stephen Colbert. You got $16 million a year for about a decade while doing it, but eventually it goes the other way. And now let's talk about some of the reasons it's going the other way, which is that we are getting real wins in the United States of America right now. Here are some videos of ABC confirming that Trump is doing exactly what he promised, and Doocy talking about Trump's wins.
Today marks 6 months since President Trump returned to office for his second term. It has been a head-spinning half year, from sweeping changes in the federal government to mass deportations and bombs dropped on Iran. The president promised changes, and there is no question he has made them. President Trump won the 2024 election based largely on his vow to improve the economy and crack down on illegal immigration. He has declared success on both.
Here at the White House, a couple minutes ago, we were sitting in the booth when some staffers came by with this list. It's 6 pages long, and the title is President Trump's Week of Wins. And when you go through, we have some from last night about that rescissions package. And as the president and his allies look at the $9 billion worth of spending that the House and the Senate now say they can cut, the thing they are most excited about here is the $1 billion that is no longer going to NPR or PBS.
Okay, so it's one thing when Peter Doocy is talking about some of the wins and he's being handed something and referencing them from the White House. But it's another thing when Martha Raddatz at ABC is talking about the Trump wins. And the wins are real. And it's one thing that I've been focusing on. What have I said from the beginning of from the beginning of 47 Trump? The thing that will get us past all of the bullshit, not just the communist, socialist, Marxist nonsense, but even the weird things happening on the right. You know what puts that all to bed? It's American success, and we have a ton of it right now. Here's more from Trump on Truth. Wow, time flies. Today is the 6-month anniversary of my second term. Importantly, it's being hailed as one of the most consequential periods of any president. In other words, we got a lot of good and great things done, including ending numerous wars of countries not related to us, other than through trade and, or in certain cases, friendship. 6 months is not a long time to have totally revived a major country. 1 year ago, our country was dead with almost no hope of revival. Today, the USA is the hottest and most respected country anywhere in the world. Happy anniversary. So look, whether you love all of the things Trump did or not, whether you're more on the Elon side of the big, beautiful bill, all of that stuff, like it is inarguable, or sometimes you might say unarguable, that what we have done with the border, good. What we have done in the Middle East, good. What we have done with the trade deals, good. Like there are what we have done as it relates to getting wokeness out of the schools, good. Like we can go after win after win after win, and the fruits of that are that I certainly feel it, and I think you feel it, is that people are feeling good about this country again. We have a president in office who we know is the president, right? We know the buck stops with him. We know that he makes the decisions. He has surrounded himself with competent people who it doesn't matter what skin color they are or who they like to sleep with or the rest of the things. And what that has done again has made the rest of the world look to America and be like, oh, America's back and that's pretty good. And really, like, think how close we were to going the other way. We would have been governed by an auto pen for 4 years and then governed by a woman who, let's just say, wasn't the brightest around. We'll leave it at that for now. So what we have to do is bring in the new, focus on success, and how about out with the old? And the old, I hate to tell you, Barack, it's you. You are old now. You are tired. You are part of a machine that is breaking down. But you did go on your wife's podcast, big hit right there, and you made a point about how men need more gays in their lives.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in that.
You know, I don't have any gay friends and I don't hate the gays. So it's like, you don't need one. You should just be a decent person. Look, I'll try to give him a little credit there. Like what he's talking about is that times do change. And actually the best, you know, it's unfortunate, Barack, because you actually did say something sort of thoughtful there. Instead of bludgeoning people over with Pride Month and pronouns and all of this fabricated nonsense, what you just said there was you met a decent man You met a decent man who happened to be a professor of yours, and it sounds like he happened to be gay. And it was no big deal. And because he was a good man or a good professor, you learned to respect him. That's actually right. That's actually right. But it was you who helped usher in the era of bludgeoning people with everything and putting, this flag in that, and you had to wear this color for that month and all the rest of it. So perhaps your gay professor actually knew a little something that should have been more applicable in the way you governed the country. But speaking of gays, noted comedic lesbian. There's only two. Which one could it be? Is it Rosie or Ellen? Rosie or Ellen? Rosie or Ellen? It's Ellen! She's staying in the UK. Listen to this. Heartbreaking news, everybody, from Breaking 911. Ellen DeGeneres confirms she moved to the UK to escape Donald Trump's presidency, and she's never coming back. She added, America is scary for people to be who they are. Again, I don't know any gay people, but I'm going to get on the phone this afternoon and call up some the National Gay Organization to find some information from local gay people and find out if they're doing okay, especially here in Florida, where apparently you can't say gay. Again, I'm going to ask around, see if it's just absurd. And I hate to tell you, Ellen, but by the time how old is Ellen? She's got to be, 65, something like that, maybe a little bit older. Like, Ellen, within your lifetime, the UK is going to be a Muslim nation, and they don't dig the lesbos that much. There aren't a lot of lesbos at the mosques doing the, stuff over there. But you can see how this is all coming together, right? So we started with Colbert, you give the machine what you want. Ellen, you had your good run. Then Donald Trump becomes president and you flee. Like Donald Trump was showing up to your mansion in Santa Barbara, like, we're taking her and the lesbian. Like, it's just absurd. It's just absurd. So what can we do, guys? We can keep changing the culture. We can keep doing funny things, poking fun at things and everything else. And even though I don't know any gay people, Shane Gillis, he was once a little gay boy. His mom's gay best friend, actually.
My mom asked me, she's like, when did we stop being best friends? And she's right. We used to be best friends. You remember that when you were a little boy and you loved your mom and you thought she was the cool? You remember when you were gay? You remember when you were just a gay little boy? Every little boy is just their mom's gay best friend. There's literally zero difference. I was gay for my mom. She would pick me up from school. I'd hop in the van. I'd be like, girl, tell me about your day. I thought she was cool. I would listen to her music. I'd be like, bam, bam, ba-dam, bam, bam, bam. Let's go, girls. I would dance for her. She'd be like, look at my little dancer. But my mom asked me when we stopped being best friends, and I don't have the heart to tell her. Because, like most men, I know exactly when me and my mom stopped being friends. It was the first time I whacked off.
For the record, I do like that Shania Twain song. It's pretty good. And I don't even know any gay people. That's our show. See you later. Post-game show, 30 seconds, RubinReport.locals.com. And it worked, right? We broadcast this on the internet. Good for Elon Musk. See, startup little guy. Got a couple dollars, doesn't just lose it on nonsensical political things. He actually tries to build things. He made Starlink. It worked. The internet worked. The generator worked. Internet program. We did what we did. I only lost 20 mil today. Not bad. See you later.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right. Come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I've got quite sure.